It's a little bit of a strange sentence, but where do those words come from? Like, what does that mean? Well, E, G, B, D, F. Always the first letter. Okay, so if you memorize that, it would help you to remember what each one was. But I wanted to show you two other quick things about this. I've learned in recent years that most beginning music books don't have this sentence anymore. They changed it. That was the sentence for a long, long time. Food, everybody loves food. And so here's one of the new ones. Every good boy deserves fudge. So if you like chocolate, you like fudge, that makes it easy to remember. And then I wanted to tell you this really quickly too. Last semester, a student told me something I'd never heard before, and that was, he said, I learned music to learn how to play the piano, but I didn't learn it this way. I didn't learn it with other deserves fudge. I learned it with Sesame Street. And I said, what? And he said, here's what I learned. Ernie gave Bert dog food. I love that one, okay? So in other words, it can be any sentence you can think of as long as each word begins with the right letter. And so you can just use your imagination almost on that. Okay, and then the other one that I'm going to give you as a little example of this has to do with something that I know some of you have learned before, and that is in the subject of math, order of operations. What's the sentence? And what's the whole sentence? Yeah, the normal one is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, even though there are other versions of that. And the purpose behind this one is that when you're at a certain level of math, you're under a lot of pressure because you have a problem in front of you that has several steps. And if you do the steps out of order, you get the wrong answer every time. And so you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, what do I do first? Well, the P stands for parentheses, and then the E is for exponents, and then multiply, divide, add, and subtract. So this helps math students at that level to remember, what am I supposed to do first? And usually they remember it well, even under the pressure of a test, because they learned it as an acrostic. Okay, one more thing about this. Students have asked me, is it better to make an acronym or an acrostic to learn something? And my answer is always, it's better if you can to make an acronym because it's easier to remember a word than it is a sentence. But sometimes, like in this case, you can't make an acronym. And can you take these letters and move them around and try to make a word out of them? No, and that's because you need to know them in this exact order, so you're kind of stuck. So this is the preference if you can, but sometimes this is what you'll need to do. And again, you can't learn everything in college by way of acronyms and acrostics, but it gives you an idea of how you can apply that. All right, so we're going to spend the rest of the workshop today with kind of part one of something that a lot of you have never heard of, never tried before, and if you do this correctly, it's the best memory trick I know. Those two that I gave you are good, but this is even better. So this refers to the idea of mental pictures. And when I teach this to students, most of them just look at me like, did you make that up? Well, I didn't make it up, but I've used it a lot, and it helps me to remember a lot of information. I'm going to share that with you in just a little bit. So a mental picture means this. Close your eyes, get a picture of something in your mind in a certain way, and then it sticks and you remember it. Okay? Everybody here has good imagination, even if you think you don't, and you're able to kind of see things in your mind. And if